Hello, everyone. This is General Hand Grenade. Welcome to my home in Prince George, British Columbia. Hang on a sec. Well, I haven't been on here for a couple weeks. I've been so busy, just getting ready for some things. Um, I'm looking around me here. I'm sitting at my kitchen table. This is where I do all my customizations, and man, I've been doing so many customizations and everything. I've got a big game coming up, game of Global War, 1936 to 1945 on May the 4th to May the 6th. So it's going to be a 3-day game. That's a Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And I've got some people coming to town for that. I got Rank Carcass is coming from Edmonton. And Joey and maybe his friend is coming from Grand Prairie. And then my friend in town here, Panzer King, there. He's going to be there. I was hoping there was going to be a couple others, but doesn't look like they'll make it. But I think they'll come this summer. Anyway, what we're going to do is not just going to be a regular game of 1936. We're going to be using the new rules. And so, if you're a fan of the Global War series and you're really looking forward to 1936, then you're going to want to check this out because, when I did come home from Tulsa from playtesting with the designers of the game. Um, I did, show some rules and that, but I was saying, okay, this is what we did, and I think we might have this in there or that. Anyway, the rules are starting to come out now. I mean, not for you, but for me and for the other designers. And so, like, we're getting a solid idea of what the rules look like, and so we're going to use those rules, and we'll be talking about them as we play the game. I'm not a fan of the live YouTube videos. It's not that I don't like the concept. I mean, I'd love to be able to put a camera up in my room over there and just forget about it and just play a game. But what I don't like is the video quality and the sound quality. The fact that the video doesn't focus on a certain point on the map because the maps are too big. If you've got a camera that shows the whole map, then you're not seeing what's really going on. You know what I mean? And the other thing is that when you do a live YouTube broadcast, the video is backwards, so the map is backwards, and the words are all backwards, and Europe's on the right side and Asia's on the left side, and to me that's just bogus, right? So I'm going to film it like I normally do, but I think that going to try to add as well, like um, when I'm not busy in the game or cooking because I'm going to have lots of house guests, right? Then then I'm going to have the camera going and on a certain spot, battles that are going on and stuff like that. It won't just be after every turn where I do a recap of, but I will be doing that too. I've set aside 3 days to do the game, although it shouldn't take that long when we have this many players. But we are going through a new rule set, and so we want to make sure that we're doing the right things for one thing, and also that we're taking the time to absorb it and to maybe add because the rules haven't been put out yet. So if we have an opinion on them, then certainly we're going to send those opinions off to the powers that be that are writing the rule books. For what it's worth, like they might be set in what they want to do with something, and that's great. But if we find something with our game that we think could be improved, then we'll certainly let them know about that. But there's a lot of rules in there that I didn't know about that are pretty cool, and I think that reading the rules now, it's a much better game than it was before. Um, and as well it should be. When you start putting out newer versions of a game, then it does tend to get better. You think about Axis and Allies and the original Axis and Allies game, and then you think about the latest version of a World War II Axis and Allies game that don't have goofy ass zombies in it. I'm talking about Global 40. Um, the differences in those two games and how much more developed that game is. And that's what I like is the opportunity to improve upon a game. The first version of of the 36 game was actually not 36. It was more the Global War 1939 game. That was their first attempt at making the World War II game. And what I see that as when I look at it is, even though I haven't played it, I've looked at it extensively. It looks to me like a bridge between Axis and Allies Global 40 and Global War 1936. It's kind of gone halfway in between, you know, where some guys took Axis and Allies and said, "Let's make this game better," and that was them going halfway there. And that supposedly it's a fun game to play. It's a really good game. And then 36, the version that is currently on your tables right now. That would be version 2, they call it, but it's actually version 1 of the 36 game. And we've all had some issues with the rules, but that's normal though, because even like Global 40, Axis and Allies Europe and Pacific 40, those also had a first edition and a second edition, and the second edition makes much more sense than the first edition is. The thing is, you just can't play test a game enough with one group of people, um, to be able to get all the bugs out of it, right? So you do it as best you can, play test it as best you can, and then you put it out there, and then you get feedback from the public. Yeah, we kind of broke the game, you know. Like in that 36 game, there's a thing called the Monroe Doctrine, and if you play that game, then you know what I'm talking about. Well, you know, some people figured out that all you had to do was um, just buy the Russians a transport as soon as they possibly could afford it, put a dude on there, and then skate down to South America as fast as you can and attack the weakest South American country you could find, right? And then bang, the Americans are in the war in the 1930s. It kind of breaks the game, right? Like the Axis don't really have a chance after that. So, you know, like there's things like that, right? Um, so that's why the newer 36 game is going to be better. There'll be things like that are fixed, plus more unit types, better unit types, and of course there'll be more and more expansions coming out. I had the opportunity when I was at Doug's place in Tulsa. He showed me on his computer there were over 100 expansions on his computer that haven't been put out yet, and he said these aren't all going to be put out. He says these are the ones that we get submitted because they don't always come up with their own, right? Like people like me and like you, they submit things to them, and some of them are really good ideas, and some of them are they're kind of out there, you know, and some of them are much more developed, like it looks like it's ready to go, and other ones are just this is my idea, you know, a couple of words, and that's really all it is. It's just a paragraph. This is what I think would be a good idea. So there's a lot of those things coming out. In fact, there's one of them that's coming out really soon. There's a few of them coming out really soon, but that's one of the things that I've been working on here. Let me just show you some. So this is just that's that's the Canadian symbol in World War II, right? So there's a set that's coming out, and it's a bunch of markers and everything. You know, markers that the I'm not going to get into it too much. I'll get into it more when it's time to do a video on this. But this is the Canada at Arms set, and you get a bunch of markers, and you get these things here, Corvettes. So one of the things when the playtesting was happening in Tulsa, um, the I thought that the rules had swung too far one way for in favor of the Axis when it came to um, um, convoying. Like it was too far in favor of the Allies because the Axis are the ones that do most of the convoying, right? And it was too easy to kill the subs. So now I thought, okay, well this is too hard, but this is going to change it a lot. One of the things that we didn't do was use seaplanes. So seaplanes are going to be sub hunters, and so are these. These are corvettes, and this is going to be part of the Canada set. And that was a big part of Canada's role in the war was protecting the convoys and supplying um, Great Britain during the war. But yeah, they took a major role in that was just one of their roles, but a major role in supplying them. But I'm not a big fan of chips though. These are going to work just fine, but when I was in Tulsa, Doug had this big box of stuff, like just tons of units in it. It was like a huge box, right? And there was all these little baggies full of all kinds of stuff in there, and stuff that he wasn't going to use anymore. And there was this one bag that I picked up at like 3 days. I was there, right? So I picked it up the first day, and well, that's kind of interesting. And then I'd throw it back down. And the second day, and then the third day, you know what? I might use that for something. So I threw it in with my stuff. And what it looks like is there were a bag full of units. Here, let me just see if I can get that a little bit closer. Like that looks to me like the very first edition of Axis and Allies, but I know it's not because like there were sub pens in it, and there were complexes, and um, there were cruisers and all kinds of things that weren't in the original game. So I have no idea where these pieces came from. They're a little bit smaller. Like there's a battleship, and that's I should have had another battleship here, but that's quite a bit smaller. Here I've got a destroyer. This is a destroyer from the Pacific 40 game. So you can see, like they're basically the same size as the destroyer and the battleship, right? There we go. Anyway, so I didn't know what I was ever going to use those units for. I just thought, there's some different units that I don't have, and that's when I started thinking about it. I was looking at these little Corvette markers, and they had these cruisers in there. And so this is one of them, but it was a little bit longer, right? Like it had a deck on the back of it. So what I did was there was 18 of them. I cut the decks off the back and then I rounded it and everything. I looked on the internet first, like images of the Corvettes, the flower class of Corvettes that the Canadians used. And it looks a lot like that. Like it's almost identical to this. And so, hey, cut it off and paint it up, and there's my Corvettes, right? Like here's mine. I had to give it a color because I like to color code everything. So that's the color of the Canadian units. It's modern mint. It's also the color of my British guys in World War II. But anyway, that's what that's going to be my Corvettes, right? And when Doug sent me a set of those Canadian units and the Canadian markers and everything, um, he sent me two sets because he said, one's for you and one's for a prize. Like when you decide to do the video, then one's for a prize. So it's going to be a deluxe prize. Like you're going to get a whole set of Canadian units, including Corvettes, and you're going to get the planes. You're going to get all the planes, the Canadian planes, and they're going to have magnets underneath them, and you're going to get flight stands. Um, where's my flight stand? Oh, here. I'm going to give you these old Field Marshal Games flight stands because I don't use them anymore and I still got a number of them. So there you go. Look, you can get your own flight stands or whatever. But anyway, all the planes, and there's lots of planes in this set. Like there's 3 fighters, there's a couple of swordfish torpedo bombers, um, there's a transport plane. Um, there's lots of planes in this. Plus, one of the things about the Canadian set was in Canada, one of the things that they did was train pilots for the Allies. And so, one of the things you're going to be able to do is build planes for a little bit cheaper for your allies, like Britain and France, and not the Americans, but for everybody but the Americans and the Chinese, you'll be able to build planes for them in Canada, or they will be able to build planes in Canada with their money, I think it is. So I'm going to include a few of those planes with magnets and flight stands. So you're going to get it's going to be a really cool prize. Um, there's going to be There's going to be some custom infantry that come with it. And, you know, like here, you got your mountain infantry. Just all the things you're going to need. Here's one guy here. There's a chip there. It's called the Devil's Brigade. And so there's a British commando painted in the Canadian colors that I've chosen. Anyway, that's going to be a part of the prize. It's going to be, and it's going to come in this box here with a Canadian roundel and everything. So you're going to get just a ton of units along with the whole set of markers and everything that comes with that set. So that's a video that's coming out soon. I was hoping that the last order that I needed would have arrived on Thursday, but like everywhere else, it's a holiday on Friday, and Monday I believe the post office is going to be out. So um, I'll probably get that stuff on Tuesday, and then paint them up. There's a couple of units left, and then probably by next weekend I can do that set. I've got the rules for it, but the rules haven't been put out on historicalboardgaming.com's website. So I will check with Doug and see how far off it is before he puts the rules out. The rules that I have are not the final art for the rules that are coming out. So mine are, like just a black and white version. Let's put it that way. Okay, it's not the final art. So I'm not going to do the video and put the video out if it's going to be months before that's out. But if it's only going to be a week or a few days or whatever, then I'll do a video and we'll do the contest, and we'll send that out, and it'll be win it before you can buy it. So that'll be cool. It's one of the nicest and most innovative expansion sets that I've seen. I know I'm Canadian and probably biased, but I do think it's a cool one, though. I think it's got a cool set of rules in it, and when we do that, we're going to be playing with those rules, the Canada at Arms rules, and that expansion set with that game that we're playing coming up. The one of the guys that's coming, Jinx, he is he's the guy that is one of the designers. I'm not sure if he's the only designer or if he's just one of the designers for that set of rules, and so. That'll be good for me and good for all of us, because we will know for sure by the time that game's over that we're playing with that set exactly right. Like there's sometimes when I read rules on some of these expansion sets and I'm wondering, did they mean this or did they mean that? Well, we're going to have the horse's mouth right there and we can ask him. In fact, he might even be playing the British. I don't know. So, whoever's playing the British will be playing the Canadians. And Canada, like they will be their own country, right? So, that's the feature of that expansion set, is Canada will play as its own country. Anyway, that's really cool. Here, I'll just show you. Give me a quick look at this. This is all the units. This is what I've been up to, like tons of painting and everything, right? And there's just there's a couple of tanks and a couple of mechs and some swordfish fighters that I'm waiting on. And then once that's done, then I'm done. I've got all this stuff laying around me, paint and everything, knives and stuff. There's the magnets. If you wonder what the magnets look like, here, let's get them up as close as we can. That's the small version. That's the 1 by 3 millimeter, and that's the 2 by 3 millimeter. Anyway, I got all this stuff laying around me here. Like here, these are the bombers from World War One. That's my World War One bomber. That's the British one. Here's the Russian bomber. I think that's a Sikorsky. There's the French one. I think this is a German one, though. They didn't have any French ones. So this is a German one. And it looks dirty, right? But it's actually, I used Blood's technique. I watched a video by G.I. Joe showing how Blood does it. Here, let me just show you. Before I do, let me just show you that. Look at that. That's what I've been up to. That's all the World War One. I need to do 5 coastal subs, and then that set's done. That's the other thing that's coming in, the units that are coming. But anyway, this is the French set. So, like you look, there is. So what I did was I antiqued it. Like I spray painted them, and then I used this stuff on them. This polyshade stuff. I didn't use a big can like G.I. Joe did. This one here did my entire set of World War One units, and there's still a little bit left. Although it is getting kind of hard. You got to use tweezers and get right down into there because it's getting pretty low, right? But anyway, I've antiqued every single unit from the World War One set, except for the neutrals. I painted them white, and I decided to just do one first. And as I suspected, all I did, it came out like looked like a white unit that had been in a mud puddle. So I didn't like that. Lots of different units. So there's the Zeppelin, the French Zeppelin, and the dreadnoughts. But yeah, a lot of these are the 1914 pieces, and they've just been painted a different color. Like these ones were the dark blue color, right, from Axis and Allies 1914, but they've been redone in a color that would be more like a French color from World War One. Another thing too, there's torpedo boats in that. Like in '36, there's torpedo boat destroyers, right? Um, and what they were was leftover units from World War One, right? Well, that means that they were in this war. Like you could actually purchase them in the Global War 1914 game. Um, but like you need a lot of them, and so rather than buying a whole bunch of the same little sculpts, I also, like I did with the Corvettes, I went online and I looked, and torpedo boats were just any kind of boat, any kind of small, fast maneuverable boat that they could launch a torpedo from. So there wasn't one torpedo. Like a battleship kind of looks like a certain thing. I mean, there's slight variations and stuff. A torpedo boat, like no two torpedo boats look the same. It seemed. I mean, of course, like there was a lot of the same kind of boat, but there was many different versions, right? So what I did was I went to the units that historical board gaming have that are the wrong color. Which ones I'm talking about, where they're selling 10 for $2. And what I did was I grabbed the transport sculpt because I always like this one, and it's got a T on it for transport, right? Or is it torpedo boat destroyer? What? Anyway, so like a lot of the torpedo boats looked exactly like that. So like you could use this. You could use the destroyer um, the wrong colored sets. A lot of the torpedo boats look like that, and a lot of them look like the sculpt that you get. So there's lots of different options there. So anyway, there's those, and of course all my planes, they all have the magnets on them, including those bombers that you've seen. So they'll be flying around above my board. There's subs and coastal subs and the World War One transports. There's also pre-dreadnoughts. And so there's a pre-dreadnought right there. That's uh, that's like an early war battleship. And there's cavalry, and there's also camels. How cool is that? Yeah, so they'll be good in deserts. Of course, you got your artillery and your tanks. I tell you, this was an awful lot of work. My goal was to get all this done before cabin season arrived, and this is what I'm using for militia. I'm just using, like, again, these 10 for $2 guys, right? That's the Dutch infantry. Doesn't matter what color you get if you plan on painting them anyway, right? What else do the French have? There was one more thing. Oh, this one. They've got the French railway gun, and I got that from Shapeways. Anyway, that's been a big job, and I was trying to get it done before cabin season, and cabin season has just arrived. I was just there on Friday. My son and I went out and kind of cleaned the place up and everything. Picked up all the wind blown stuff and things like that. Get rid of the winter off of everything. There was only one tiny small patch of snow left on my deck. That was kind of good. Usually when I go out there, there's big mounds of it that are still left. But this year I was kind of late getting out there because I wanted to finish this off, because I didn't want to have to stress about that. Like, oh, I need to stay home and finish my units off, so I can play, or oh, I need to get out to the lake. And no, I wanted to get this done in the wintertime, and so now I'm free to go to the cabin. And if there's bad weather, then maybe I'll just stay home and play a game and watch or make videos or something, right? So anyway, so that's done. Lots of painting done. Like, that was a lot of work. That was 10 different nations that needed to be painted, and then antique like that. Um, uh, uh, if you go to GI Joe's channel, then GI Joe shows you how to do that. I seen somebody else do it a different way, where they were doing kind of the same thing but using a paintbrush, and I found that that technique worked better with these bombers that I have here, because there's too many cracks and crevices in these bombers, and I couldn't get in there to wipe that stuff out. So I just started using a paintbrush instead, and that worked a lot better. Plus, I broke one of them. You don't want to be doing that with a $5 Shapeways piece, breaking them, right? Anyway, so that's what I've been up to. Here, let me just take a look at something here. See what's going on around the community. It's Easter, by the way. Happy Easter, everyone. I got a message from Grasshopper this morning wishing me a happy Easter, and I wished him back. So I wish all of you a happy Easter. But let's see what else is going on around the community here. Viper and NATO recently resurfaced. They had gone underground for a while, and they've popped back up again. Let's see some newer sites here. So Rodriguenhosen, he's a guy that's doing a lot of 36 house rules. He's just started a channel, and he actually does a really good job with his videos. His camera work is good, lighting's pretty good, and right now what he's doing is house rules. Like he's just put out a video there about how to differently use um, the expansion set oil wars, um, a better way of doing oil wars. So who else do we got here? Mr. Poppleton. I think that's the guy I was thinking about with the painting. Yeah, he's all about customizations to this point, customizing your units like magnetic and um, painting techniques, and things like that. Storage. Who else do we got here that's new? The Plastic Commando. Again, somebody that's into doing house rules um, and painting techniques. What else have I subscribed to lately? Admiral Seabass. Yeah, he's kind of trying to do um, 1936 rules on a 1940 board. Although I think he's going to get himself a 36 board if he hasn't already. Anyway, he's going through a game right now. He's playing the whole game with his new rules. Just a solo game like I've done in the past. Um, yeah, so, and he's designing a tabletop. Sorry, I'm just going through his channel here. I'm just trying to look at newer guys that you might want to check out. What's this one here? Uh, the Good Captain. He does videos on the classic Axis and Allies. So he goes through strategies for each nation and stuff like that. So if you're into classic Axis and Allies, then that's a good channel for you. I'm not too sure what else. Sorry if I skip over yours that's new. Um, I find a lot of the videos that are on there now are just um, YouTube wars, and um, it's a great way to play the game, and I encourage people to do that. It's a way to play the game if you don't have any players around. Um, but one of the things that I find sad about that is that those people aren't doing any other kinds of videos. You know, like I liked it when they were doing their customization videos and their strategy videos and things like that. They probably don't want to do strategy videos because then they're revealing their strategies to their opponents on YouTube wars and stuff like that. So maybe that's why I'm not sure. But I find that there's very few people other than me doing videos that aren't that don't have to do with YouTube wars. Grasshopper's been doing some videos. I'm not sure how many videos he has for his his other thing that he's got going on, but on YouTube though, he is putting out a few videos how-to videos. Uh, Rank Carcass recently did a video or a series of videos for a game that he was doing. That was really entertaining because the directions that he took that game were just off the charts, right? Like things that you would never think of. Yeah, so Grasshopper's doing some tutorials. Plus, him and Jonathan Meyer are sharing videos, 14 videos and 40 videos. Grasshopper's getting into this 1941 deluxe edition now, and I believe that's um, the anniversary board with a kicked up anniversary board with the rules for his 3G40, like the types of units and everything. I'm not sure if all the rules are the same. Um, I haven't read through them or anything like that. But he's been doing a lot of play tests, so he's been having people come to his house from afar and doing some play testing. So that's pretty cool. But like I was talking about that 1914 game there, um, I'm really excited about that one because I play tested it for a day and I could see that it's going to be a really good game. I'm going to do a video on that coming up soon as well. I I had hoped to have that finished by this weekend, and I was going to do the video this weekend. What I was just going to do was put all the units on the board in the opening setup, and then a few more if like they don't start with bombers in the game. So I was going to throw some bombers on there and some camels, that kind of thing, and then just talk about the game. Not too much, not too deep, because the rules are just in the very early stages right now, right? There's a lot of play testing that needs to be done, a lot of work that needs to be done. But I like the fact that there is a new 1914 game and that it is going to be along the global war lines. In that they really go out of their way to try to make it historical, but like further than Axis and Allies does. Axis and Allies is more of a game than a history lesson, whereas Global War is getting closer to that history lesson, but it's still a game. Like it doesn't do any good to make the game completely historical because we know who wins those wars, right? You know, wouldn't be any good if the Central Powers didn't have a chance of winning. So um, so it's going to take a lot of testing and everything. But what I like about the fact that they're doing this game is that um, the Axis and Allies 1914 game, they put that the Wizards of the Coast put that one out, and that's a Larry Harris design. But Larry Harris and Wizards of the Coast are friends off now, and Wizards of the Coast approved with their last version of Axis and Allies, the Zombies. That's their only version they've done without Larry. That they really don't give a shit about Axis and Allies, and so even if they did attempt to make a second edition of 1914, it it would probably suck, right? Like they honestly don't care. Like they probably Axis and Allies 1914 and Vampires or Barbie or something, right? It'll be something stupid like that. Um, and that's what I was saying earlier about playtesting and stuff. Like you can only playtest so much among one group of people that you have, or a couple of groups that you have. It's not until you get the game out into the community where you can actually see um, that this rule set is going to be totally flawless. You know what I mean? And obviously, the Axis and Allies game wasn't. There was only one edition, and it's a fun game to play, but it is completely unbalanced. Like there's no possible way that the Central Power and people, I've said that before. People, I won as the Central Powers once, once. Good for you, but I'm telling you, like you can't win as the Central Powers against a competent Entente player, which is the Allies, right? Put it this way: if you want to challenge me to a game, I will play the Entente. There's no possible way that you can beat me. We can bet any amount of money. It doesn't matter. You're not going to win playing those roles with that board um, as the Central Powers against a good Entente player. So that's what I'm excited about with this new game because that was a fascinating war. Um, it was the first war really that where technology was the feature of the war. That's why they had all those trenches and everything. They thought they at the beginning of the war, they at the very beginning they thought it's just like any other war, was line up on the field and we'll rush them, right? That worked for about 10 seconds till they were all mowed down by machine guns and realized they had to dig trenches. Well, then they had to figure out, okay, now what do we do, right? So that's when tanks got invented, and that's when they started using air power, right? And in the beginning of that war, air power, like they didn't have guns on those things. They, all they were was for taking pictures, like for finding out where the enemy was. And so they pass each other. There goes the German guy, and there goes the British guy, and they wave to each other, and they go take their pictures. Then they go back, and then one time, guy brought a revolver with him, tried to shoot the other guy. So the other guy brought his gun, and that's okay. Eventually, they had machine guns on them, and now we've got guided missiles on our planes, right? Like, it's things have evolved in the air war. But anyway, that was the first war where technology made a big leap. You know what I mean? It wasn't just, oh, this is a better cannon or something, right? Where there was actually technology applied to a war, and it changed the face of war as much as it did. So that's what makes that war so fascinating, and the fact that global war is in this for the long run. That historical board gaming is in this for the long run with their global war series, and that there's going to be a first edition, and then there'll be a second edition, and who knows, maybe someday a third edition or whatever. The game is going to keep improving, and that's what I like, because there's no way to improve that Axis and Allies 1914 game. As fun as it was to play, it'll never be any better than that. It could get worse if the Wizards of the Coast ever try their hand at doing a second edition, but it's not going to get any better, and that's a shame. But Global War is going to be better right out of the gate than that one, um, and 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 you'll get a chance to play test and say, maybe you could do this too, right? And so eventually, a couple years down the road, there'll be a second edition, and that game will be even better. And so I'm excited about that. Anyway, so it was good to sit down with you again. I haven't done a video in a few weeks because, like I said, I was busy with all this other stuff, and I'm not a big fan of of making a video of you watching me watch paint dry. And I was too busy watching paint dry to do the other stuff, right? Like, you don't want paint all over your hands and then you're in there touching your cloth map. Just doesn't work so well. So I thought I'd just sit down here and just yak at you for a while, let you know what's coming up. Don't forget about that game we got coming up May 4th to 6th. That's a Saturday, Sunday, Monday. We're going to play day and night. And I'm not going to film it live. I'm going to film it all day long and then start uploading the video at the end of the night. So the video might not be there until morning because they're probably going to be pretty long videos. I'm going to do more than just tape at the end of each round. But there should be lots there. And if you're really interested in the 1936 game, I really encourage you to watch it because you're going to see the new rules. You're going to see the Canada at Arms expansion. One of the other designers wanted me to test his expansion. It's I can't remember the exact wording, but basically it's Special Forces operations. But it's got a really extensive rule set, and so I've got these people coming in. None of us have played well, I played once, but none of the other guys have played the new rules, and so I don't want to throw a really big rule set in with new rules in 36 already for the base game. So sorry, Elijah, but we're not going to test that one right away. Maybe at some point down the road, though. But we are going to throw in a couple of expansion sets, just to see how they react. Also with the new rules, the base game. Just I'll let everybody pick one. I know which one James wants to pick. I hope he doesn't pick that one, but I know which one he wants to. But anyway, it's going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to these guys coming into town. I always look forward to seeing Rank Carcass, and he's bringing his wife because there's a fan con in town. It's called Northern BC Fan Con or something. It's one of those big nerd conventions where people dress up like Wonder Woman and and vendors are there, and there's going to be I think the Hulk is going to be there, Lou Ferrigno, and things like that, right? So she's coming for that, and then we're going to go to the lake afterwards after our game's over and the convention's over. Then we're going to go spend a few days at the lake. So that'll be fun, and it'll be fun to meet Jinx for the first time. And if his friend comes up, that'd be cool too. Anyway, more than anything, it's going to be fun to dive into the new set of 36 rules because, like I said before, they look like they're way better than the old rules. So I'm going to sign off now. Take care, everyone. General Hand Grenade out.